There is a moment when you realize you're no longer referring back to yourself. Not to check how you're doing, not to see if something feels right, not to confirm that you're still grounded. You're simply living. This episode is about that moment. About what it's like when experience no longer passes through a reference point called me before it's allowed to happen. Earlier in life, and even earlier in this journey, most experiences were filtered. Something would happen, and almost immediately, there would be a glance inward. How am I feeling about this? What does this say about me? Is this okay? Those questions weren't dramatic. They were habitual, and for a long time, they served a purpose. Self-reference helped maintain continuity. It helped you feel located in experience. It helped you track change, make sense of shifts, and stay oriented. But over time, that constant referencing becomes unnecessary. Not wrong, just redundant. When you stop referring back to yourself, experience becomes single-layered. It happens once. Not once in the world and once inside commentary. Just once. This can feel strange at first, almost like something is missing, because self-reference once felt like presence, like awareness, like being conscious. But what drops here isn't awareness. It's mediation. Living without referring back doesn't mean you disappear. You're still here. You still have preferences. You still make decisions. You still feel emotions. But none of it needs to be checked against an internal image of yourself. This often shows up in very ordinary moments. You speak without rehearsing how it sounds. You act without watching yourself act. You feel something without evaluating whether it makes sense. And afterward, there's no need to review it. Earlier, experience often echoed. Something happened, and then it happened again internally as replay, analysis, or reflection. Now, experience completes itself more fully. It arrives, it moves, and it passes. Living without referring back also changes how emotion moves. Emotion no longer asks permission. It doesn't wait to be understood. It doesn't need to be confirmed. It's felt directly and allowed to complete its arc. This doesn't make emotion overwhelming. It makes it brief. Without self-reference, emotion doesn't linger as identity. Earlier, emotion often triggered questions. Why do I feel this? What does this say about me? Should I feel this way? Now, those questions don't arise as often. And when they do, they don't take over. Living without referring back also changes how thought functions. Thoughts still appear. Ideas still form. But thought is no longer used to define experience. It's a tool, not a mirror. Earlier, thought often served as a reference. You checked with it before trusting what was happening. Now, thought is consulted when useful and ignored when it isn't. This brings a kind of simplicity, not because life becomes simple, but because it's no longer doubled. You're not living and narrating simultaneously. Living without referring back also affects how time is experienced. You're less aware of transitions, less aware of movement between moments. Not because you're disengaged, but because you're not stepping out to mark the passage. Moments flow into each other without commentary. There's continuity without effort. This doesn't mean reflection disappears. Reflection still happens, but it happens later, or lightly, or not at all. And when it does happen, it doesn't pull you out of life. Living without referring back also changes how you relate to others. You're not checking yourself while interacting. You're not tracking how you're being perceived. You're present with the conversation itself. This doesn't make you careless. It makes you less self-conscious. You listen more fully because attention isn't divided. Earlier, there may have been a tendency to scan interactions afterward. Did that land? Was that okay? Did I handle that right? Now, conversations end when they end. They don't follow you. Living without referring back also changes how mistakes are experienced. Mistakes don't threaten identity. They don't require justification. They're noticed, adjusted for, and released. Earlier, mistakes often triggered self-assessment. Now, they're simply part of movement. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means care isn't filtered through self-image. You respond to what's needed, not to what it says about you. Living without referring back also softens the need for consistency. You don't need to act in ways that confirm who you think you are. You respond to what's present. That response may vary, and that's allowed. This flexibility brings relief. You don't have to keep yourself intact. Life can move without checking with a central reference. You may notice that identity feels lighter, not erased, just less involved. You don't need to know who you are in order to act. This stage doesn't feel like clarity. It feels like availability. You're available to what's happening without standing outside it. Living without referring back also changes how silence is experienced. Silence doesn't prompt checking. It doesn't invite commentary. It's simply space. And space doesn't need explanation. This stage often feels very quiet. So quiet that you might wonder if anything is happening at all. But what's happening is that nothing is being filtered anymore. You may notice that you don't think about awareness much. Not because it's gone, but because it's not separate. It's the context in which life is unfolding. Living without referring back doesn't remove uncertainty. But uncertainty no longer requires management. You don't wait to feel certain. You move and see what happens. This brings a different kind of trust. Not trust in outcomes, trust in responsiveness. You trust that you'll meet what arises without needing to define yourself first. This stage doesn't arrive with a label. It doesn't announce itself. It's recognized afterward by how little you're referencing yourself. You may still refer back sometimes. Habits don't disappear instantly. But when it happens, it's noticed gently. And when it's noticed, it loosens. This isn't something to practice. It's something that happens when effort has already fallen away. Living without referring back isn't a belief. It's a lived simplicity. Life happens, and you're in it. You don't need to remember this. You don't need to apply it. If it resonates, you'll recognize it in your own moments. If it doesn't, nothing is missing. Life doesn't require a reference point to unfold, and you don't need to refer back to yourself in order to live it. If any of this feels familiar, you don't need to hold on to it. But if you'd like to stay connected, you're welcome to. Liking the video helps it reach others who may be quietly noticing that life feels simpler without self-reference. And if these reflections support you as experience unfolds without commentary, you can subscribe, not to follow a path, but to keep the door open. And if someone you care about has been exhausting themselves by constantly checking who they are, you're welcome to share this with them. Only if it feels natural. Sometimes the deepest ease comes from living without referring back at all.